This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Newpel, and welcome to the Noop Sports Show.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tom, and welcome to Noop Sports College Football Conference Previews. Be sure to check us out at Noop Sports, that's KNUPsports.com, where we're going to help you make money on sports betting. As I look at the conference previews today, we're going to start with the SunBelt Conference. I'm going to briefly talk about each of the teams and tell you what I like and what I don't like about each one. And I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to start, and then we'll go down to the bottom feeders of each of those. And to start at the top in the SunBelt, you have to go with Appalachian State Mountaineers. Last year, they were 10-3 for Coach Scott Satterfield, and they were 7-6 against the spread. And what I like about them is they just know how to win. They won 27 their last 32 games since mid-2014. And the two losses that they had two losses against Miami and Clemson. So they are a solid, rock-solid team. They know how to win. They're favored to win the conference. On both offense and defense, they're going to be very good. They have a 4-year starter in quarterback Taylor Lamb, and he's going to have a great offense running game behind him as well as a strong offensive line. They have all the tools to win. Their defense last year was ranked number 17 in the country. What I don't like about the Mountaineers is that they lost 5 key starters on defense, and there could be some regression early in the season. The defense only forced 6 fumbles while recovering 1, and anything close to that will be a problem. While the running game is going to be sensational, the passing offense finished 105 in the nation last year, and so with Lamb as a veteran, he may be able to shoulder some of that responsibility. Facing Georgia, facing Wake Forest early in the season is going to be a challenge, but the overall schedule is not too tough. But there are some road games that could become traps. I look for them to win probably 10 games. They're probably going to go 10-3 again this year. Their best competition is going to be the Troy Trojans, who was coached by Neil Brown, and they were 10-3 last year, and they were 6-7 against the spread. What I like about the Trojans is that they have 15 starters back, the most of any of the teams in the SunBelt. They were a 3-loss team. They lost to Clemson by just 6 points. The offense has the potential to be better than its 53 ranking last year. They were number 39 in points scored. They'll be led also by a senior quarterback, Brandon Silvers. They're going to have a senior running back, Jordan Chun, and the secondary will be its strength. Going 6-0 at home is more likely than not. But what I don't like about them is the toughest part of their schedule is on the road, and they must deal with LSU and Boise State in non-conference games. 4 losses right there, and they cannot reach their win total considering the SunBelt does not have a conference championship game. So the defense, which finished number 34 last year, has some major holes in it, and they need to fill those from the front 7. The Trojans were picked near the bottom of the conference last year, so they're not really going to be sneaking up on anybody this year. I don't think they're going to attain their 10 wins. With the over-under at 8.5, I'm going to go 9, so I'm going to go over with that one. The third team, Arkansas State Red Wolves, 8-5 last year, 7-6 against the spread, coached by Blake Anderson. The Red Wolves opened last season 0-4, and they looked really bad, including a bad loss at home against Central Arkansas, and they were of the FCS conferences. But they went on to finish 8-1 with the only loss coming by 5 points against University of Louisiana Lafayette. The numbers on offense aren't great, as they were number 74 in scoring offense. They averaged 32 points over that 9-game stretch, where they only averaged 16 points in that 0-4 start. The schedule is tough. It opens up with Nebraska and Miami, but after that, it's pretty tame. They will miss Appalachian State on the schedule, and they catch Troy at home in the season finale. Those things are looking up. But what I don't like about the Red Wolves is they return only 10 starters, which is probably the fewest in the conference. Most of their offense production is back, but they must replace all 5 starters on the offensive line. Losing 5 seniors is a huge blow to any offense. Quarterback will be Justice Hansen. He's a solid dual threat, but he needs to be protected. Arkansas State allowed just 21.5 points last year, but there's holes now on that side of the ball. And with 3 starters from each of the front 4, the secondary needs to be replaced. Defense is going to be the big issue. Over under at 7.5. 8 wins last year. I'm going to go with 7 this year. Things aren't looking so good. They got too many holes to fill. Then we move on to Georgia Southern. The Eagles were 5-7 last year, 3-9 against the spread, coached by Dyson Summers. It was disappointing last year for the Eagles. They had a 3-0 start, but then they lost 7 of their last 9, which came after a combined 18-7 record over 2 seasons. Most of their losses were competitive. However, that doesn't mean it's going to turn things around this year. Georgia Southern averaged 381 yards in the first 2 years, but fell to 225 last year for the main reason of the dropout. They're expected to improve, which could significantly increase their win total. What I don't like is that after the last 2 years, they're just not there. Nothing there. The Eagles lost their top running back. They were breaking in a new quarterback. They don't throw it much, but they're thin at the receivers. So the running game just can't get back to any form. And that could be real trouble. While the top 3 teams in the conference are not playing each other, Georgia Southern must face Arkansas State, Troy, and Appalachian State, with the last 2 on the road. Over-under is 5. I think they can get 6, but they're going to struggle. University of Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns are 6-7 last year, 8-5 against the spread, coached by Mark Hudspeth. The defense was one of the best in the conference last year, and they're going to be that again this year. They bring back 7 starters from a unit that finished 43rd best in the country in yards allowed. The rushing defense was the strength, as they allowed only 129.6 yards, which was 24th best in the nation. It won't be a strength again with the returning of the front 4. The offense was adequate, so losing 5 of those starters is not really a big deal. The Cajuns do not have to play Troy, so getting back to a bowl is much easier with that. But what I don't like, postseason is going to be more difficult, and the fact that the SunBelt schedule has made 4 of the games, the easiest games at home, 4 hardest games on the road. Non-conference, they take on Southeast Louisiana, which is a season opener. But then they also have 3 road games at Tulsa, Texas A&M, and Mississippi. And those probably are sure losses. The offense needs to carry some of the load, take the pressure off the defense, but that's not going to be easy. Season total 5. Last year 6-7. I think 5 is about all they can get. They got some really, really, really tough schedule. We move on to the Idaho Vandals. 9-4 last year. Very good season for Paul Petrino, the head coach. Last year they matched their school record for 9 victories, making it to their 3rd bowl game ever. They had a lot of momentum into the season. There's plenty of motivation that's going to last this year after dropping down a level and playing out of the Big Sky Conference. This means that they could be playing in their last bowl game ever. The offense will be a potent offense led by senior quarterback and 4-year starter Matt Lynham. The defense holds its own and should do so again. Well, let's go back over that again. There will be plenty of motivation, as this will be their last season in the FBS for the Vandals, as they're dropping down a level and playing in the Big Sky Conference. What I don't like about Idaho is they've lost 12 starters, 6 on each side of the ball. The passing attack must replace 4 of the 5 receivers on the offensive line. We have 3 holes to fill. Everyone in the secondary is gone. 4 of the 9 from last season were their losses were in it by a possession or less, including 3 or 3 points. And that kind of thing just seems to always happen. Season win total at 4.5, probably 5 wins. South Alabama Jaguars, 6-7 straight up, 3-10 against the spread for Coach Joey Jones. South Alabama went to their second ever bowl game last season, but failed to win. They have not won a postseason game yet. They considered a successful season that saw South Alabama upset Mississippi State and San Diego State, and 4 of their losses came by a touchdown or less. South Alabama was another one of those teams that stalled too much on offense as the Jaguars, finished 92nd in scoring offense. They must replace the bulk of their receiving core. They do have quarterback Dallas David back, along with the entire offensive line. What I don't like is that last year the passing attack was very, very lackluster. They must move on without tight end Gerald Everett, who went into the NFL. Quarterback has some issues. The health of Davis is a big concern as he's banged up last year. While the offensive line is intact, it wasn't very good last year, as the Jaguars were 102nd in rushing offense while allowing 31 sacks. Of their 6 road games, only 2 of them look winnable. Over/under is 4. Yeah, it's going to be a push at 4. It'll be a struggle. New Mexico State Aggies, coached by Doug Martin, were 3-9 last year, 7-5 against the spread. New Mexico hasn't been relevant for a lot of years, probably since 2002. They've not been to a bowl game since then. But I think this is going to come to an end this year as the Aggies return 15 starters, which is the second most in the conference. Last year, the offense was explosive at times, but too inconsistent. Sometimes they were not even competitive in some of their games. They were 64th in total offense, but just 97th in scoring offense. It'll be up to the red zone this year to get it done. The defense, well, quite frankly, has nowhere to go but up. What I don't like about the Aggies, the defense was atrocious, 121st best in the nation in scoring and has a lot of ground to make up. They allowed 35 or more points in 8 games. I guess giving up way too many points, and that's going to make for a long season if they continue to do this. The schedule's brutal, as the Aggies have 3 road games at Arkansas, Arizona State, and New Mexico, which is their non-conference slate, and they have to face the top 5 teams in the SBC. The SunBelt Conference this year looks like they will probably win 3 games, maybe 4 games in their season. Georgia State Panthers, 3-9, won 3 games last year, 7-5 against the spread. Head coach is Sean Elliott. They went 1-23 in the first 2 seasons in the FBS. Georgia State finished 500, went on to a bowl game in 2015, which makes last year a disappointment. 2 of the 9 losses were by single digits. Georgia State was rarely competitive. They lost key components on both sides of the ball. The new coaching staff is hoping to bring in an up-tempo style of offense. The pieces are in place for there to be success. What I don't like, while they do return 14 starters, they returned 16 last year and they didn't have very good results. Experience is a good thing, but experience must be talented. There are questions about many spots on this team, particularly in the offensive line. A lot of areas have to be upgraded. They can't seem to get much better. Georgia State under 5 wins this year. The ULM Warhawks, 4-8 last year, coached by Matt Viator. While last year was a rebuilding year after a 2-11 season in the year before, while things weren't great, expectations were met, and 2 losses by a combined 5 points were the difference between a 4-8 record and a possible bowl berth. The Warhawks' expectations this year are a lot higher as they return those 16 starters, which is the most in the conference, ninth most in the nation. What I don't like is the defense was so bad that even serious improvements may not be enough. 119th total defense, 122nd scoring defense. It's just bad. They allowed over 400 yards on the ground 3 times. And I don't know if you can even fix that in one season. The offense will be a little bit better. The stop unit may be a little bit better. The schedule is brutal. There are hardly any room to breathe in this. Under 3 wins. Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers. They are set to make their transition into the FBS in 2017. Coach Joe Moglia had a lot of success in the FCS level, where they won 12, 9, and 10 games in the last 4 years. And many times winning can move forward. Even if it's a higher level. There were 10-2 last year, and their 2 losses were each by 1 point. Their defense is their strength. They have 7 starters back. They allowed 17 points or less 7 times. It's not unfathomable to come into the SunBelt and win some games and have some success right away. Appalachian State, Georgia Southern, they've done it. It's possible Coastal Carolina could. But what I don't like, it's a risk jumping to different levels. While they have that winning attitude, they have to face a different challenge in the SunBelt. The defense may be able to hold its own, but the offense only returns 5 starters, and they're breaking in a new quarterback, which is not an ideal situation when you go into the FBS. The Chanticleers play the top 3 teams in the conference with back-to-back games at Arkansas and Appalachian State. I'm going with 3 wins. Could be 4. I'm going with 3. And finally, the Texas State Bobcats. 2-10 last year, 5-7 against the spread. Coached by Everett Withers. Texas State upset Ohio in the season opener, but then everything just went downhill from there. They didn't get another victory until they played an FCS school, the Incarnate Word. Only 1 game was competitive in their losses. That means Texas State has possibly some value that people will not look at them as competitive, and they can win a few games possibly. Not going to be on anybody's radar. Probably the big news for the Bobcats is they have Mississippi State transfer Damian Williams as their quarterback. He has playmaking ability. He can keep the defenses honest. The schedule's difficult, but there are spots where they can have success. What I don't like is their total offense was just basically dead last year. They were 117th in total defense. A lot of work to be done. Still not a lot of talent in place. It's hard to imagine much improvement from last year, but Williams is going to help that. He needs some semblance of a running game. The defense is undersized. Secondary is a total rebuild. A bad start is going to just blow them out. Over at 2.5. I'd like to pick them at 3, but I'm going to give them 2. That's your SunBelt Conference preview. Check back for other previews as we go through the beginning of the college football season. Don't forget to check us out at noopsports.com. That's KNUP sports.com. We will help you make some money on betting sports. This is Tom from Noop Sports. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Noop Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at noopsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.